What's up everybody, welcome back to another video by me, your boy Valen. Today we're going to be talking about UFC 223 and why you should care about it. Now, I care about it, I'm excited about this card, it's a good card, it's the first good card we've had in a little bit of a while. So I'm going to tell you what I like about it, a couple of fights that I'm excited for, and then maybe you'll be excited about it too. So let's get into it. First of all, we have Alex Caceres versus Artem Lobov. Next up we have Borg versus Brandon Moreno. After that, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Felice Herrig. Iaquinta versus Paul Felder. Røde Namajunas versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk for the second time in a row. And finally, Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. These are the fights that I'm excited about, and now we're going to talk about them all briefly, just to give you a little idea of why they're exciting. So let's get into that. First up, Alex Caceres versus Artem Lobov. Artem I'm biased towards because he fights out of SBG Ireland. He trains with Conor McGregor and John Kavanagh. Being from Ireland, obviously I'm biased towards them. Alex Caceres, however, I've been following since I got into UFC because I started through The Ultimate Fighter. So he was actually one of the first MMA personalities I got to know and actually attached onto as like, I'm a fan of this guy. Unfortunately, his career's been a rocky road, and so has Artem's, to the point where they now both are at 13 wins and then 11 and 14 losses respectively. This is an exciting fight because they're fighting for their contract. Essentially, it's kind of unfortunate that they're in this position because I like them both a lot, but it's a save your job fight, and that's why these two guys are going to have a great fight, I think, and I'm excited to see it. Hopefully you are now too. Next up, Borg versus Brandon Moreno. Now, Borg and Brandon Moreno are both top 5 and 10, so both top 10 fighters, and it's an extremely interesting fight because it's almost like a title contention fight, title eliminator. Borg's last loss was to the champion, Demetrius Johnson. He actually lost via the spectacular submission of the sport history, the flying armbar that he did.
Would just lay there. Oh, whoa! Oh! Right into an armbar! Phenomenal! Oh my goodness! Oh my God! No! Oh my God! Look at Borg! Borg is a savage!
Unbelievable! Borg refusing to... Oh, there it is! Demetrius Johnson!
That was a spectacular win, and it was Borg's loss. Now he's fighting against Brandon Moreno, an up-and-comer who's had a little bit of adversity. He's experienced some adversity in his career, not a whole lot. He's actually a real up-and-comer, a nice kind of star that seems to be pushing through at the moment. And that's why this is an exciting fight, because you have one guy who just fought for the title against another guy who's trying to get to the title. So it's kind of like Borg is acting as a gatekeeper in this fight, and that's why that one's exciting. Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Felice Herrig are two top-ranked female fighters, and they're fighting against each other quite soon. Now, Karolina is ranked number 4 and Felice is ranked number 8. However, in their last 4 fights, Karolina has gone 2-2, 2 wins, 2 losses, and Felice has actually gone a clean 4-0. So this is really Karolina is established top of the food chain fight quality fighter. She's a top of the food chain fighter, Karolina is, right? Felice, however, has had some adversity throughout her career. Every time she strings a couple of wins together, she gets a nasty loss and kind of resets that momentum that she gets going. And she is a really interesting fighter. She's a really cool, fun person to watch if you follow her Instagram or anything. This is a really interesting fight because if Felice Herrig can beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she's now at the top of the food chain with all the rest of the big dogs in that female division. On to the next one. Now, next up we have Iaquinta, who's ranked against Paul Felder, who's unranked in this division. This is really exciting because the Raging Bull Iaquinta is just a crazy fighter. He kind of reminds me of Diego Sanchez, if you know who Diego Sanchez is. He's just one of these psychopaths that's just going in there to swing in the pocket with you. Paul Felder, however, is a commentator for the UFC, and he's been commentating a hell of a lot more lately. Since Goldie's gone and Joe's cutting back and they're kind of training in Jimmy Smith a little bit, he's still new. Paul Felder's been doing an awful lot of UFC commentating, and I'm wondering, the reason I'm excited about this fight is I want to see, can the commentator still deliver the goods? Because this is Paul Felder's shot at the top 10. If he beats Iaquinta, he's going to go into the top 10 rankings more than likely whenever the ranking report comes out, because they almost never update these freaking rankings. What do they even mean anymore? But yeah, it's Paul Felder's test, and it's interesting to see, can this guy pass the test? And that's why I'm excited about this fight and why you should be too. Next up, we have a potential barn burner on our hands with Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis. Now, Anthony's had a rough career. Michael is on the come up, but he had a real big setback loss to Kevin Lee recently, and it was even more embarrassing via the Yo Mama jokes at the press conference, which...
He's gonna headline because of me. After that, he's going back to the prelims, but I just hope he shows up because I know his mama got tickets, so...
Shut the fuck up about, hey, don't talk about my mom for one. Don't you ever talk about my mom. Don't you ever talk about my fucking mom. Don't you ever talk about my fucking mom.
Dad,
I want to get in the middle.
like whatever you want to call it.
I smack the fuck out of you right now. Don't you ever talk about my mom.
Yeah,
Never talk about
yeah. What's good?
I don't want to see that again. But that's why this fight's exciting. He's a bit of a loose cannon. Anthony Pettis is a showboater. He's a stylist. He likes to show off, throwing like the Showtime kick, which he invented. You know, that they run up the cage and they do an out kick in the face. He did that against Benson Henderson. That's a real popular clip. That's Anthony Pettis, and he's fighting Michael Chiesa, guy who got really mad about someone making a joke that his mom would be at the fight. Anyway, it's an exciting fight because Anthony Pettis used to be the champion. He was on a Wheaties cereal box and all this, and it's like, does he still have it? So that's why that one's exciting. On to the co-main event of the evening. We have the champion of the strawweight division, Røde Namajunas. Thug Rose, as DC so well put it. Now, I've been following Røde Namajunas since she was in The Ultimate Fighter, because like I said, that's how I got into mixed martial arts. So I'm a huge fan of hers, but also the Polish terror that is Joanna Jedrzejczyk. It's crazy. It's just crazy that the two of these, that they even fought, and that Rose knocked out Joanna and took the belt from her. Now they're rematching it because she was such a dominant champion that they have to give her a rematch. It's fair enough. This fight is extremely exciting because if Rose can do what Max Holloway did and defeat the old champion twice in a row, unquestionable that they are now sitting pretty at the top of that division and everyone has to come to them. That's why this is an insanely exciting fight. It's like the true test. Like, Rose beat her, but can she beat her again in a row? Can she beat her twice in a row? Can she beat her more emphatically? That's why this is really exciting, because no one thought that Rose would actually win. Like, her supporters thought she would win. I was praying she would win. But like, a lot of people had doubts because they hadn't seen her fight before on such a big stage, and she hadn't had this like title shot since her first one at the end of The Ultimate Fighter, which she actually lost to Carla Esparza, which is unfortunate. Like, she really could have won that, but she was also much younger and she was only just after transitioning from the modeling career into MMA. She was still kind of fresh. It's been a good few years now since then, but that's why this fight's really exciting. You should definitely check it out. And finally, we move on to our main event. Tony El Cucuy Ferguson versus Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Tony Ferguson is a monster. El Cucuy is like the boogeyman, okay? Just so if you don't know. So he is a scary guy. On the ground he's scary, standing he's scary. He's got this just vicious like punches, knees, kicks, elbows, everything's coming at you, and he's a monster at jiu-jitsu. He can fuck anybody up on the ground. However, Khabib Nurmagomedov is 25 wins, no losses in the UFC. He is undefeated. Tony has an interim lightweight belt. This is apparently for the real lightweight belt. And what it actually is just for fun, because Conor McGregor owns both belts, and as he said, you'll have to come through my house and take them off me. So as far as we're all concerned, King Conor has the belts up in his house up there somewhere in Dublin, and it's grand. We're fine with it. This fight is insanely exciting because one of these two monsters will have to fight Conor next, more than likely. And everybody wants to see how well he does against the undefeated Khabib if he wins, or the absolute monster and true champion, as everyone in the mixed martial arts world is saying now, of that division, Tony. Which one can he beat? Can he beat them both? Can he beat either of them? Conor's been sitting out of MMA for 2 years. He fought last year, but it was Floyd Mayweather. This is the real big question, and why this event is so exciting. And you know Conor is more than likely going to be in the crowd because one of his only sparring partners, Artem, is there. Conor supports him. Chances are Conor is going to be at this gig. So it's going to be extremely exciting to not only see all of these fights happen, but also see McGregor's reaction during the event, if he's at it, but most certainly after the event, in the aftermath of it when his next potential opponent is decided. These are all of the reasons why I'm excited for UFC 223. I feel like I've explained them briefly, but also enough to the point that now you maybe understand that there's storylines going on here, and while it may have been just like a sport, like usually you would just consider it's team versus team, there's actually quite a lot of storyline building going on here. It's almost like wrestling. But that's why I'm excited for all these fights and UFC 223, and why you should be excited for UFC 223. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click that like button. If you didn't, thumbs down the video. It lets me know if I'm doing good or bad. Comment. I see all y'all coming up in the comments lately. Way more activity there. Thank you. Thank you all. Welcome new subscribers. There's been a good lot of you in the last few months. So welcome. Get on train. Get on early before we leave the station. And thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And we'll see you again in the next one. Is it lightweight or featherweight? Jesus, I really should have written this down. I can put it in post, in text. I can put it in text in post. Martin, put it in text. Put in the divisions in text. Put the divisions in text. Put the divisions in text on screen. UFC 223. Subscribe.